Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So we just got Andor Season 2 episodes 4, 5 and 6, the second batch of episodes 3 BBY, 1 year on from the last one. We know for a fact in Star Wars canon the Ghorman Massacre takes place in 2 BBY, so it's going to be next week and everything is building up to it. But with these episodes, I have a lot of thoughts. Right off the bat, I would say I disagree with the majority opinion I'm seeing going round. The consensus seems to be that the first arc was much stronger. I've even seen fans say this was a downgrade. I personally disagree. I preferred it. The 3 episodes were written by Wilmon, the writer of the Narkina 5 arc from the first season, and the writer of the upcoming James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi movie. But these episodes were so well paced and so well written. I do have one major gripe though. Sometimes the show just doesn't feel Star Warsy enough. They just don't go far enough with the sci-fi elements. I know they throw in a few aliens here and there, but let's be honest, how many planets look just like Earth? When you talk about places like Chandrila and Ghorman, they should have taken a page out of George Lucas's prequel trilogy. This is meant to be a galaxy far, far away, and sometimes it just looks like Spain. A great example is the literal pigeons. They could have made these sci-fi avians, like convors or something else. That's my main criticism, but story-wise, I loved it. And I might be biased because I'm a big fan of Saw Gerrera, but everything I love about this show, its themes, its politics, its dialogue, the world building, was on full display. Especially the theme of sacrifice, having to balance the human side with the cause, something which Luthen doesn't seem to understand. And this causes rifts and tension, not just with Cassian and Bix, but also between Vel and Cinta. And now that Cinta is dead, with Vel finding out the reason that they weren't together, especially when Cinta was injured, was because of Luthen, there is going to be more of the aforementioned tension to come. I sense Luthen's downfall coming. He's losing allies. Not to mention that Loney didn't tell him that Dedra's former assistant has been put in charge of the Axis investigation. Luthen is now walking around with a full sense of security. So things are coming to a head. We were also given an incredible exploration of Ghorman, the Star Wars version of France. We saw Ghorman culture, we finally saw their rebel group, the Ghorman Front, and we got to hear their francophone language. And I must say guys, the undercover Cyril and Dedra scenes were some of the best examples of spy thriller done right. Cyril gaining the trust of the Ghorman rebel movement, relaying information back to Coruscant to Partagaz and Dedra, all the while his girlfriend is keeping the truth from him of what's really going on Ghorman, why the Empire is using it, information about Project Stardust. This information is also what Luthen is after, and as we know from the trailer my dear friends, Luthen is going to soon find out. But Dedra is keeping secrets. It's a testament to how talented Denise Gough is, but there are interesting moments when Dedra's humanity comes through. Happiness, guilt, those little moments where she's more human, and her Imperial's sour face starts to drop. I don't expect a redemption from her, but it's just something I noticed. But when we're talking about Ghorman, there was one massive reveal. These episodes were able to converge both canon and legends. In the expanded universe, Tarkin landed his warship over Ghorman protesters. I thought there was a chance it might be addressed in this show, and I thought it might be part of the Ghorman Massacre itself, but it turns out it was a separate event. One that took place many years ago, shortly after the Empire was founded, but it is canon. It was the predecessor for what's to come. So you can understand why the Ghorman people are standing up and they want to fight back. But as Cassian says, they're too trusting, and in some ways too disorganized. They see the annexation and what the Empire is building and they want to fight back. And like I said, in the next 3 episodes, we're going to see the real bloodbath. And as we see back on Coruscant, Mon Mothma can't get other senators to oppose what's going on. No one wants to speak out against Palpatine, but we know she's going to, and she's going to found the Rebel Alliance. But before we move on my dear friends, just circling back to the Tarkin moment, I'm so happy Tony Gilroy did this. I would have loved to have seen it, but it might have been too graphic. Tarkin landing his cruiser over 500 protesters, and just knowing Ghorman citizens have to walk through that same plaza every day, it's a constant reminder. They really humanized the Ghormans. I love this arc. Andor was never about the big characters. It was never meant to be about the Lukes and the Vaders of the galaxy, what Tony Gilroy calls the royal family of Star Wars. It was always about the little guy, the small rebel groups and insurgencies that lead to the foundation of the Alliance. And along the way, the bonus has been that we learnt about a few different Star Wars cultures. And so now we come on to my favourite character from the entire show, Saw Gerrera, the rebel partisan who dies on Jedha in Rogue One, who has a very questionable moral compass. But once again, Forrest Whitaker is in a league of his own. Some of the best acting in Season 2 so far, so let's talk about this. 1 year after Brasso's death, Wilmon Paak finds himself at the Partisan base and the Future Resistance base on Dakar, a planet we see in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Wilmon is there to teach one of Saul's men, who ends up being an Imperial spy, how to use a machine he's concocted that safely mines rhydonium, a fuel source that we see in Star Wars Rebels, The Clone Wars, and The Mandalorian Season 2 that's highly toxic. It can easily burn someone from the outside as well as the in, provided enough of it is breathed in. Using the machine requires one to memorize 8 variations, and Saul refused to let Wilmon go until Pluti had no issues doing it on his own. After Saw and Two Tubes find out that Pluti is a spy, they kill him. So Wilmon is forced to go with the Partisans to work the machine on their rhydonium run. While Wilmon was setting up, he was wearing a breathing mask. Saw was next to him, mouth uncovered, reminiscing about his days on Onderon. When he was younger, Saw was enslaved in a jungle work camp. It's the origin story of how he became addicted to rhydonium fumes. He says one day, everyone started to itch, and all but Saw ran away from the camp. But Saw embraced the exposure to the substance, calling it his sister. Now this is where things get super sad, and there's a bit of an Easter egg. One of the reasons Saul became an extremist and went down the path he did was because he lost his actual sister, Steela Gerrera. The rhydonium is almost a comfort, but it's messed with his mind. It's slowly burning away the inside of his body, and it's the reason his lungs are fried by the time of Rogue One. To my mind, my dear friends, this cements Saw as one of the most tragic characters in the entire Star Wars saga. He's fully embraced rhydonium's effect on him, willing to admit to Wilmon that he is crazy, and that revolution is not for the sane. His words were persuasive enough to make Wilmon remove his mask, but he couldn't handle it. He was choking. I don't want to see Wilmon suffer, and we don't know the kind of physical and mental effects it's gonna have, but you can understand after everything Wilmon's been through, why the extremism of Saw Gerrera appeals to him. He lost his father, and he lost Brasso, so it's not an easy road for him. And if he decides to stay with Saw Gerrera, if he decides to join the Partisans and knowing what they're about to do, I have a bad feeling Wilmon might be one of the next casualties. But now we move on to another huge moment which I think fans are going to be talking about all week. The recasting of Bail Organa, which I spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Tony Gilroy mentioned there was going to be one legacy recast. There was some jibber-jabber it might be Tarkin, but I predicted Bail Organa, and I was right. He's being played by Benjamin Bratt. Not because Jimmy Smits didn't want to do it or because he's too old, it was simply because of a schedule conflict. I will admit, it was a bit jarring at first. We're so used to Jimmy, but he looks enough like him for it to work, especially considering it was such a brief cameo. It was also pretty awesome hearing his wife being named. In terms of other Easter eggs and name drops and references, I will be making more videos in the days to come, but some of my favourites included pod racing, a Togruta antique, and another mention of Masamida, the Grand Vizier who has been courted by Skolden. That was a funny mention. But now we come on to one of my criticisms, the final scene where Bix finally gets revenge over Dr. Gorst. Bix has been having a rough time. Her PTSD is getting worse. I wonder if Luthen is the one who put her up to getting Gorst. The logic being if she can get revenge over him, it would begin to heal her trauma. But I thought it was rushed. It was very brief. Considering the amount of time the show spends on, let's say, less substantial scenes, this could have been one they dragged out. That's just my opinion though. I'd rather judge the season as a whole when it's done. I'm so excited, and like I say, I'll have some more videos breaking down certain scenes, more specific and niche aspects of these episodes in the coming days. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check me out on socials, and may the Force be with you, always.